Good day, everyone. I'd like to thank everybody and welcome them to today's featured Broker Hunter Career Webinar. We're proud to have Fidelity Investments on the call today, talking about opportunities in their Jacksonville regional centers as well as their investment centers throughout the Jacksonville metro area. My name is David Testerman. I'm your moderator today. I'm with BrokerHunter.com. And before I pass you off to the first featured speaker, let's go over a couple of housekeeping items really fast. First of all, we will be taking Q&A from the audience. So you will see on your webinar toolbar a Q&A tab. Please ask any questions you have via the Q&A pane. That we're going to try to get to as many of those as we can at the end of the event as time allows. And then if for some reason we do not get to your question, a representative from Fidelity will reach out to you directly and answer the questions directly. So we also are going to be recording this webinar. You will get a link to the recording later on today. Usually takes a couple hours after the live event. And we'll also have very specific instructions should you have an interest in talking further with Fidelity about opportunities in the Jacksonville area or other areas as well. So with that being said, I would love to introduce our first speaker, Jennifer DeHart, who is the Vice President Branch Leader of the Investment Centers there in the Jacksonville area. Jennifer, welcome.
Thanks, David. Hi, everybody. As David said, my name is Jennifer DeHart, and I have the pleasure of training, coaching, and leading 30 associates here in the Jacksonville area in our local investor centers. We have one located here in the south side at the town center and one that just recently opened over in Ponte Vedra Beach. We are right down the street here at Southside from the regional center, which is a much larger campus with closer to 1,000 associates that work there. We are so excited to have you all here to learn more about Fidelity. And before we get started, I was hoping I could just share with you briefly a little bit about my background and why I'm so passionate about Fidelity as an incredible employer. I started with Fidelity about 17 years ago. I was unlicensed and a little embarrassed to say I probably couldn't have even explained what the S&P 500 was properly to you. But somebody saw something in me and hired me in our Washington, D.C. Investor Center, where I took in checks and paperwork from our clients. And with the amazing resources and training and support that I got, I quickly got my Series 7 insurance license, 66, and was able to advance into an advisor role. I've held many roles within the investor centers over the years. Also, with the amazing benefits that we get from Fidelity, I obtained my MBA as well as my CFP designation. And I also, while an advisor of managing a large book of business, had two babies in the midst of all that and still was able to maintain a very successful career. So I think you'll hear my passion throughout this presentation and everybody else's, but I did want to share that with you, that it really is an amazing place, not as a job, but as a true career opportunity. So for today, we're going to talk a little bit more about who we are, why Fidelity, employee benefits, the career opportunities, and then as David mentioned, we'll have some time for Q&A. So why don't we move to the next slide, please? Okay, so we have a great group of panel members here joining us. Jennifer Crocker is our talent champion. India Johnson and Andrea Roca Murphy are both in our diversity and inclusion panel interview group. And we have Marissa Lasecki, talent acquisition director, and Charmine Khan, senior talent acquisition consultant. You'll hear from each of them later in the presentation. So let's talk about who is Fidelity. Well, Fidelity is one of the world's largest, most diversified financial services firms in the world. We have a wide range of products and services for individuals, employees and employers, as well as institutions. We employ over 40,000 associates in over 200 US locations, and we're headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts. You'll notice on the screen here, it mentions a completely differentiated business model, and I wanted to look into that a little bit deeper here. We are the world's largest 401k provider. Think about that. What does that mean? We are the largest 401k provider in the world. That provides us a very unique opportunity. 1 in 4 Americans have a Fidelity account, and many of those accounts started as simply signing up for their employer 401k plan. But it allows us an opportunity to get in front of every one of those participants and help them not only with their 401k, but to also help them with all their other financial needs and benefits. Another point that I'd like to talk about is the fact that we are privately held. We are owned by our associates as well as mostly by the Johnson family that founded the firm more than 70 years ago. You may ask yourself, well, why is that important? Why does it matter that Fidelity is privately held? I think the most important part of being privately held is the way that we're able to invest back into the firm for long-term initiatives that truly help our clients and our associates. We're not necessarily worried about short-term gains to appease our Wall Street investors. We're really looking at what we can do to invest in our long-term growth. We also focus on employee benefits that help attract the best talent out there. I think one of our biggest investments over the years has been technology and innovation. And through this COVID crisis that we've all experienced, we really saw it come to life early on. In March, we were notified that we had basically 2 days to get our folks situated and working from home. And because we had put a lot of money into mobile technology and getting our associates more flexibility about where they could work from, we already had the infrastructure in place, and we were able to get most of our 40,000 associates working from home safely, keeping the clients safe, but we never skipped a beat. We never stopped supporting our clients. We continued with every appointment that was on the books, utilizing Zoom technology and other ways to work with clients remotely. So we really saw the benefit come to life during this crazy time that we've experienced. Last and certainly not least is our people. We hire great people. Not only do we hire great people, but we support those people through training and resources. I've heard it said that you will not fail at Fidelity for lack of resources and training. And I truly believe that. And I would love for you to come out and find out more about what we have to offer. And hopefully we'll touch on a lot of your questions throughout this presentation today. Next slide, please. So this is just a graph or a map of where we're located. You can see the light green circles represent the investor centers, which is my side of the business, if you will. You can't even see our investor centers here in Jacksonville. They're under the big green, dark green dot there in Jacksonville. Those represent the regional offices throughout the country. But as I said, we do have 2 investor centers here in the local area. But as you can see, there is plenty of places to join the Fidelity family. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Jen Crocker to talk about life at Fidelity.
Thanks, Jennifer. I'm Jen Crocker here. I started with the firm 14 years ago, November of 2006. It was my start date, coming from a competitor. You saw on an earlier slide that Fidelity is consistently one of the best places to work, and to achieve that, culture is a really big part of our Fidelity life. The customer is always number one. We're doing very meaningful work, making sure that nobody outlives their assets. It's a huge responsibility that we have at Fidelity. That being said, you are truly part of a team. Everybody wants to see you succeed. Everybody wants to be a resource for you. We have a really strong coaching and accountability culture, believing that it is very important to tell it like it is with compassion behind that. We do have very flexible work environments and options. Like Jennifer mentioned before, technology is very important to us. Being on the top of innovation made it very successful, or easy for us to be successful in this pandemic space. I believe in the first week or so after Corona was announced, we had about 90% of our workforce working from home because of the work that we already did in that working virtually from home space. We do value diversity and inclusion, and if we go to the next slide, we can see our employee resource groups, which help to facilitate that. We have a lot of different, we call them ERGs, a lot of acronyms at Fidelity. You can see some of them listed here. Our Asian Employee Resource Group, Aspire Black and Latino, Women's Leadership Group, 5 for Veterans, Pride, just to name a few. These groups help to facilitate development on both the personal side and the professional side, consistently providing events to our associates. You can be as involved or as uninvolved as you want to be. And the best thing about these is that you don't have to be a part of any of the classes. I'm a part of all of these groups, and I've never been a veteran. I've never been a part of the military. They also have causes that are near and dear to their hearts. Fidelity's overall community involvement, our mission is to increase financial literacy, but all of these groups have different causes. Like I said, they're near dear to their hearts. The Clara White mission is a big part of focus of the 5 group. If we go to the next part, the next slide, benefits. This is the most impressive, fun slide that I think you will see today. Our benefits are top-notch. Starting on day 1, your medical and dental kick in. On top of that, you can start contributing to your retirement account starting on day 1. Being that we are the #1 retirement provider in America, Fidelity says, put your money where your mouth is and let's make our employees just as successful in their retirement space. So after your first year, Fidelity will start matching up to 7%, 100% of 7% of what you're putting into your retirement, as well as 10% profit sharing. That means that if you're putting away 7% after your first year, you're actually saving 24%, almost a quarter of whatever you made the prior year, including your bonuses and overtime. On top of that, we've got, after 6 months, you're eligible for tuition reimbursement as well as student loan repayment. We want to make sure that you're able to start saving for retirement and getting yourself out of debt. So Fidelity will pay up to $10,000 of your student loans towards the principal in your first 5 years, which is pretty awesome. And on top of that, we've got a pretty comprehensive time off plan, including, like Jennifer said before, maternity leave. We've got paternity leave, as well as consistent coaching, mentoring, development plans for progressing your career. Going to the next slide, we'll have Andrea talk to you about the Fidelity Advantage.
Perfect, thank you so much. So my name is Andrea Roca Murphy. I've been with Fidelity just a little under 3 years. Very much like Jennifer, when I got hired, I did not know the difference between a stock and a mutual fund. Embarrassingly enough, I actually wanted to do comics for my life. But I love everything that I have been able to learn during my time here at Fidelity. And so I am planning to stick around for a very long time. And so here we're going to be specifically focusing on the Fidelity advantages. So we'll go ahead and start off with the business model. Fidelity provides a business model with an existing client base and institutional feeders of business that is unmatched in the industry. Our model and scale, our model and scale allows us to hand you, which would be the advisor, a book of clients, typically about 400 to 500 households with about $500,000 or more at Fidelity. And naturally, these numbers can vary dependent on the investment center that you would be in. Next would be the opportunity alignment. We have strategically aligned our business to the vast opportunity which exists in today's unique market environment, and have developed agile initiatives and innovative and to capture these opportunities to make sure that we're using whatever opportunity is invested to us to the best of our capabilities. One big thing, especially focusing here on the stability, is something that Jennifer touched up on earlier, specifically on the privately held portion of Fidelity. She let you know what makes it so important, and I'll go ahead and reiterate it again, in the fact that we don't have to worry about those short-term goals to try to appease board members or anything of that nature. And that allows us to really focus on deep diving and making sure that we are there for our customers to build up on those loyalties and making sure that we're taking the right steps for their retirement and their financial careers to make sure that we can assist where it is that they need assisting and not so much in what we need in our back pocket to improve on our short-term goals. So that in particular about Fidelity is a great thing to be a part of. So we'll go ahead and jump to the next slide here. And this is focusing on the training approach that we have at Fidelity. I think in anyone that has spoken to anybody in regards to Fidelity, one of the big things is, hey, we really like your training approach. That's why I want to come here so much comparative to a lot of other financial industries. Specifically, when you understand that you're coming in unlicensed and you have to get 3 exams. You have to get your SIA, your 7, and your 63. And if you go into sales, your 66 as well. So at times, it can be a little daunting, and we are here to assist you in that process as well. We make sure to go ahead and provide for you the reading material along with those practice questions and exams to get you accustomed to the kind of testing environment you would be in. We use a system called Past Perfect, as you can see on the slide there with licensing. We do provide some facilitator-led Zoom sessions and things of that nature to kind of push you to the finish line to keep reiterating those points. Along with that, with teaching you the basics on how Fidelity functions within the finance industry, what are stocks, what are mutual funds, how we would be having conversations with our clients, we continue that training process far beyond just that. We're going to be teaching you how the industry works as a whole now that you are a licensed professional. That means that we're going to go ahead and give you training blocks so that you can read what are the policies and procedures. How is it that we need to make sure that we're placing trades accordingly for our customers so that we are not doing any errors in any way, shape, or form. They wanted 100 shares, not 1,000, you know? We want to continue keeping you on your toes so you know what it is that is necessary for your role. And that comes with a lot of training. We know that we can't throw you at the deep end of the pool and expect you to know how to swim. We will teach you the basics, and we will keep teaching you those basics as you move forward in your career. You can be here for 20 years and we'll keep giving you those trainings because we can never be safe enough. So that's just a little bit about our training approach. We're going to go ahead and jump over to our next slide here, in which we'll have India Johnson speak to you about that.
Hello, my name is India Johnson. I've been with Fidelity for 4 years now. Love it, have enjoyed a few of the roles that you're seeing on this slide here. Just to talk about the type of roles that you can come into. There are licensed roles and there are unlicensed roles. So I'm going to start on the service side of things. Coming into Fidelity unlicensed, you're going to go through that rigorous training program that Andrea just referenced, but you'll come in as a customer relationship advocate, which means you're on the front line helping our clients triage what their needs are, and if it's not in your scope, then passing it on to a more advanced representative. If you're coming in as a licensed representative, there are a multitude of roles that you can be assisting our clients in. So you could be attending to a life change. So say there's a divorce or there's a death, there's a specific department that you would speak to help people in transition. There's higher net worth clients that you can be talking to, or all of the paperwork that's required in order to establish the accounts and make sure that we're processing and having accurate information for accounts. There's a department that helps with that. So coming in to the regional center, you'll have licensed and unlicensed roles. And for the service side of things, the unlicensed position would be our customer relationship advocate role. And then you can see the list of the licensed roles that are available for service. On the sales side of things, we like to describe our sales not really as sales, but having consultative conversations with our customers, providing them solutions that they need. We're not telling them what to pick, but providing them with the information that they need in order to make the best decision for themselves. You can come in as an unlicensed sales representative. That's talking to clients who may not necessarily have decided to do business with Fidelity. It's through those 401k accounts. through the workplace side. So the workplace decided for them to have a relationship with Fidelity. And on that side of things, you're reaching out to engage them to make sure that they're active with their plan and doing what's necessary for their finances on that end. But on the sales side, there's also clients who decided, I want to have a brokerage account. I want to have a relationship. I want to trade. And they open up a brokerage account, and there are representatives who are licensed, who are able to help them navigate making a trade, providing them information, quotes on that scale of things, so that they can have all the information necessary for them to make the right decisions about their finances and how they want to operate in their brokerage account. On the sales side, there's also going to be opportunities to provide advice when the clients are needing it. It does require more licenses. So you would need your 66 license in that role. But again, as to Andrea's point, we have a training program that would help you prepare and be ready to take on that license so that you would be able to take on some of the licensed roles. And it ranges from being on the phone and taking that first call where they're needing that advice to having a one-on-one relationship with a financial advisor so that you're having a personal relationship to be able to understand and execute your finances in the way that you need. So both sides of the field are taken care of with service and sales opportunities, both licensed and unlicensed. And that's a review of like the regional center role opportunities. I'll kick it back over to Jennifer so she can cover our investor center roles.
Hi, thanks, India. Okay, so the investor centers are the retail buildings that you may pass by. As I said earlier, we have one here in the town center. So if you've been in this area, you may have seen us. It's the brick and mortar, and it's where we have our face-to-face interactions with our clients. It is, even when you look at the support side of what we do here, it is very much in line with helping our clients, providing advice, and getting them in a better spot than they were when they came to see us. So if you take a look at this slide, this shows you the different opportunities here. Starting on the left, the financial representative was the role I explained I started in. Typically, these are folks that are already licensed, but there are opportunities to bring folks in unlicensed. I will say, being here in Jacksonville and being right down the street from the regional center, we have an opportunity for folks to go through different roles over there, and oftentimes we'll look to make the transition to face-to-face over here. Relationship managers support our financial advisors with clients, and planning consultants have the role of also supporting our advisors, but providing more planning and advice through their roles. Wealth management, you have investment consultant, financial consultant, VP wealth planner, VP financial consultant. These are various advisor roles. So these are folks that have a book of business, work with a specific subset of clients in partnering with our clients to do their financial planning. And then each level of wealth management, you're working with a different subset of clients depending on the complexity of their situation, net worth, et cetera. And then lastly, we have the coaching and management, which is the regional planning consultant. So this gets back to what we've been talking about with the resources and training that we provide. We have a dedicated regional planning consultant for each branch that actually works with all the associates in the branch to help them with the products and solutions and appointment process and all the things that you need to run the best appointment possible. And then you have assistant branch leaders as well as my position, which is the VP branch leader. Next slide, please. So I think you've heard a lot today, heard about what an amazing company we are here at Fidelity and what terrific things we offer. And I'm not going to read this slide to you. You can read this on your own, but I think now would be a good time to turn it over for question and answers.
All right, thanks so much. Great presentation, guys. We have a lot of questions here today, and we're going to pass off the Q&A right now to Marissa. Marissa, if you want to go ahead and start fielding some questions from the audience, that would be great.
Sure. So we've got a few questions here. We have answered a few in the Q&A, but there are a few that I think would be great to outline live with you all. So a question that came up is, how many tester licenses do I need for these positions? Does Jen want to take that question?
Sure, thank you. So in the entry-level customer relationship advocate role, you're going to take 3 exams and obtain 2 licenses. The Security Industry Essentials is going to be the first test that you take, and that is going to cover the foundational, fundamental pieces of information in the financial services industry. On top of that, or excuse me, after that, you take the top off, the Series 7 top off, which is going to get into the market, security, investments, a little bit more nitty gritty. And those together, the SIE and the Series 7 top off, make you a federally licensed stockbroker. The third test in this role that you take is the Series 63. That license is going to allow you to transact in the states. It's going to go over different rules, regulations per state. Technically, you don't need it in the state of Florida, but you're not just talking to customers in Florida, you're talking to them all across the country. And then speaking on the other entry-level role, which is the workplace planning associate role, you're going to actually not obtain your 63, you're going to obtain your Series 66, which makes you an investment advisor. That entry-level sales planning and guidance role, with the thought that you will be going through that, that career path. So you will be guiding our customers on different managed products, which is required, why the 66 is required. There are different licenses tests that you would take and obtain depending on the role that you take and progress. I've got my 910, a supervisory principal, when I was supervising other associates. It really depends on where you go in your career path.
Awesome, thanks for sharing that, Jen. Another question that I have, I've heard it can take 2 years to advance past a customer relationship advocate role. Is that possible? India, would you like to kind of talk through kind of what we see timing wise with training and what we see on average for career growth from the customer relationship advocate role?
Certainly, certainly. So the training for the role is going to be the first 20 some odd weeks of your time at Fidelity. Thinking with that in mind, the typical tenure in the customer relationship advocate role is going to be between 18 and 24 months. That's the typical time frame that it takes for you to receive all the training necessary and gain mastery of the role, so that you can explore and understand what other options are out there and put energy towards pursuing advancement at that time. So typical tenure in the role is between 18 to 24 months.
Awesome, thank you. I've gotten a few questions about the remote environment. You know, is there an hour, do you have to live an hour from the site? Is this a work from home position? Is it a remote position? Jen, do you think that you could shed some light on what that current situation looks like for everyone?
Yeah, so everyone is working remotely now. The thought is that we are going back into the office. We've been operating on a 30-day by 30-day update basis from Abby Johnson, actually. And the thought is that you do need to live within an hour of the site. You don't want to be told that we're opening the office back up again, and you live 3 states away and now you have to find housing. So you want to be within the site. Big part of our culture and our environment is working around each other in our flexible work environment. So that is why it is very important that we get back there. Before COVID came out, a lot of the roles had the option to work up to 50% from home. Once you've had a certain tenure, once you've mastered your role, and you're able to give yourself that that leash to work from home. But it is important, if you are working from home, that you have a designated workspace free of distractions. And Fidelity provides you all of the equipment needed to be successful in that space as well.
Awesome, thank you. Also getting a few questions around the requirements for the customer relationship advocate role, the profile and backgrounds that we look for. Andrea, would you mind kind of explaining a little bit about that to everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to walk through that. So typically the background that we're looking for here at Fidelity, you really don't need a finance background. I think, we've touched up on it throughout the presentation itself, but actually, I got my degree in illustration. Like I mentioned previously, I wanted to do comic books for my life, and I did not expect to come in finance. One of our other, coworkers got his degree in meteorology. A lot of people here at Fidelity don't come to this position expecting to do finance for a career. We can teach you finance, but we can't teach you to love people, and that is what we're specifically looking for within this role. We want you to be able to understand what it entails to have empathy and want to assist customers to the best of your capabilities and what it is that you're looking for in that regard, or what they're looking for in that regard. You don't need a bachelor's degree in order to apply. The highest that we typically ask for is for a high school diploma. As long as you've got that, you're absolutely ready to go to apply, and that you have the drive to want to study and pass these 3 licenses. I don't think we could really ever emphasize enough that is the biggest hurdle when it comes to actually coming here at Fidelity. So understanding that you want to be able to study and learn this information and put your all into that, that is what we're looking for.
Thank you. Couple questions around people that have the Series 6, maybe rather than the Series 7, as well as would you recommend an unlicensed prospect going for the SIE to improve hiring chances? Jen, do you want to take that one?
Sure. With your Series 6, you're automatically grandfathered in with the SIE, so you won't need to take that. We don't typically encourage folks to get there. You are welcome to get your SIE ahead of time if you want to. You are in our training program learning the SIE and the Series 7 top-off information at the same time because they truly do go with each other. And then you're just testing about a week apart. It doesn't hurt you to get the SIE ahead of time if you want to give yourself some extra time, or to just dip your toe into the industry to see if this is something that actually really does interest you or not. But it is not required to get it ahead of time.
Awesome. And something to piggyback off of that question as well, for someone that's unlicensed but wants to start a career as a financial advisor, wealth manager, question is, do I have a better opportunity applying for a non-licensed support role first?
Yes. So, I won't say you cannot, you most likely will not be successful in being a financial advisor without starting from the ground up and learning the industry and truly gaining the experience and learning how to have consultative conversations with customers, how to do appropriate goal planning, how to effectively manage your book. These are all skills that you learn as you're growing within the industry and within our planning and guidance career path.
Awesome, thank you. Will we have a mentor? India, do you want to take that one?
Certainly. So yes, mentorship coaching is a part of the full process. So right out the gate, coming into our training program, there are going to be facilitators and mentors there to support and help make sure that you succeed in the process. They're always available. And I would even extend that to say, in my own personal experience, even if I wasn't a part of a specific department, the culture that we provide here at Fidelity, you can reach out to anyone to ask for insight, or I want to be mentored. And most likely, most people are willing, and excited that you're reaching out for understanding or for help. So mentorship is a big part of my experience here at Fidelity, and that's because of the culture that they've made available for reaching out for one another.
Awesome, thank you. Question here, if you've previously held your licenses and they're expired, can you apply to have them reactivated? Jen, would you like to take that one?
Sure. So FINRA will not allow you to just reactivate your licenses. You would need to, if they have lapsed, you would need to sit for them again. It is important to think about when you're in the hiring process, think about what you did to be successful in obtaining those licenses before. Think about the different environment potentially that we're in now, the study program, and think about how you would be successful in this new study program. It could be exactly what you went through before, wherever you obtained your licenses previously, but unfortunately, you would have to go through the licensing process again. They don't just reactivate them after them being lapsed.
Awesome, thank you. Jennifer, I have a couple questions around branches. They're not specific to the Jacksonville area, but hoping you can help these individuals or point them in the right direction. Is there an investor center within an hour of Richmond, Virginia? And then someone also wanted to see about what to do. They're currently licensed and who they can speak with about positions in Tennessee, or what they need to do to look into positions in Tennessee.
So we have an investor center in Richmond, so that it's actually in Richmond. And then for Tennessee, so and maybe Charmaine, I don't know if you're available to answer this question. I'm not sure where to direct this person as far as the best person versus going onto our careers website. You can go in and actually narrow down the different open opportunities, and you can get it down to Tennessee. And I know we have investor centers in Johnson City, Knoxville, Nashville, and Memphis. So we have them spread out throughout the entire state of Tennessee. Charmaine, would you offer anything additional?
Yes, that's exactly what I would recommend, as well as to visit our career site and apply for those locations that you have interest in. And that will ensure that you are directed to the appropriate recruiter who can then reach out to you.
And then I have another branch question. What's the closest Fidelity branch to Melbourne, Florida? Charmaine or Jennifer, do either of you know that answer?
So I've only been in Florida for a couple years, so my geography is not that great, but I can tell you the Florida branches, and you can tell me if it's as close to Melbourne. But we've got Jacksonville, the Villages, Orlando, Sarasota, Tampa, Vero Beach, which might be kind of near the Melbourne area, I think. And then we've got a number, Fort Lauderdale, Coral Gables. We have over where the golf people all live. What is that? West Palm Beach area, Palm Beach Gardens specifically.
It looks like it's closest to Vero Beach.
Vero Beach, see?
Yeah.
There.
Awesome. Gotten a couple questions around training and the study program. Given that everyone's working remotely, how has training been impacted? And then I guess to piggyback off of that, what type of study program are we using? And I'm guessing this is in reference to the licenses, because the follow-up to that is Kaplan. So Jen, India, Andrea, do one of you want to take that one?
I'll go ahead and I'll take it here.
Thank you.
So in regards to the training program and the licensing portion, I'll answer the licensing just because it's a pretty quick answer. We use Past Perfect. We specifically use Past Perfect. It's all of our reading information, practice exams, practice questions, all of that comes from Past Perfect. We do provide some Kaplan practice exams for you to take. So you're not just strictly relying on Past Perfect if you want to have a change of pace, but that's as far as it goes. We don't offer any Kaplan like reading material or anything of that nature. Now, in regards to the training module and all of that, now that it's being done remotely, a lot of it really has not changed here at Fidelity. A lot of it's done on Zoom, yes, but the material is the same. We have always pushed for a more self-led environment here at Fidelity when it comes to training and learning new material, that in itself has not changed in any way, shape, or form. The only difference is now you can do it on your couch rather than on one of our chairs at the office. And then typically the way we kind of structure it is that we expect you to learn everything on your own and get to about 75% of understanding the material and teaching it to yourself. Then we will have a Zoom session with a facilitator that they'll then go ahead and push you to the finish line, and they'll go ahead and reiterate everything that you were supposed to learn on your own. So be it that we were doing it in the office or now that we're doing it at your house, it's all exactly the same. We just have to be a lot more deliberate in the sense of how we are interacting with each other. We've touched up on it a lot in regards to our culture here at Fidelity. We're really big on just being like the Fidelity family. We want everyone to know that we're here at this together and we want to push to the finish line together. So being on Zoom, we have to be a little more deliberate about that interaction. We can't just walk by your desk, tap on your shoulder and say, hey, how are you feeling? We have to get on Skype. We have to get on the email and say, how are you feeling? Like, let's talk to each other. And that would be the biggest change, I would say. But outside of that, material-wise, how we're teaching, that's all the same.
Awesome, thank you. Another question came in. What other roles are available in Jacksonville that aren't sales related? India, do you want to touch on that one? Since you touched on the positions. Thank you.
So outside of the sales role, we have the customer relationship advocate. From there, if we're thinking about roles that progress above that, the role that I mentioned regarding our transition services group, so helping people with death or divorce and transitioning accounts in that regard. You also have your service support. So if your folks are trying to establish new accounts or make add or remove features from accounts, make adjustments in that way. There's a department or a role that supports that. We thinking about people who trade really frequently and they're really versed in the market. There's a role that you're supporting people who are active traders. They're active in the market. So that's another role or direction you could go, or just taking the step of the customer relationship advocate is like that entry level role. There is also a high net worth role. So you're giving that white glove service to a higher net worth client as well. So those are the other roles that are available outside of our sales opportunities.
And if I could just interject on the question, because I think when we think of the word sales, your perception of what sales means at Fidelity might not be accurate. I've never thought of myself as a salesperson. When I got into the industry, I really didn't know what to expect. But what we do is we meet with clients, we understand their situation, and we look to help improve what they're doing with their financial futures. And we help them understand the benefits of implementing solutions that we build. It is not a true sales role in the typical sense of the word. I think another reason that people are afraid of the word sales is they think about the compensation and that it's kind of a you either make commissions or you starve type of situation, and Fidelity does not compensate their advisors in that manner at all. You have a nice base salary. The compensation structure is built out in a way where it's not 100% dependent on sales per se. So.
Awesome. Getting a couple questions back on the training and studying piece. How many months of studying is typical to obtain these licenses? Andrea, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to the time frame for studying, typically you have the 3 licenses that you have to get. Again, that's the SI, the 7, 63 if you're going to the retail, or 66 if you're going to sales. The time frame is you're looking about 8 weeks in total to study and take the 3 exams. Again, you're going through our training process. We're not throwing you to the wolves and expecting you to do it by yourself, but it is a pretty fast pace for you to digest all the information and then effectively take the exams as well.
Awesome, thank you. I have a question from an attendee asking if we can go back to showing the slide illustrating the licensed and unlicensed roles that we currently have available. Thank you. And then another question around that, does the position require inbound, outbound calls, both, or no calls? So Jen, do you think you could take the lead and kind of talk a little bit about some of the differences between these roles?
Sure. So we'll talk about the 2 entry-level roles. So the customer relationship advocate role is going to be 100% inbound, dealing with folks calling with specific needs, very reactive, finding out the best person that they need to speak with, perhaps if you haven't been trained on something, and then getting them to the right place. So that's your entry level on the client services side, fully inbound. Your entry level and our planning and guidance side is going to be your workplace planning associate, and that's 100% outbound. And so you are calling out to folks, again, these are people that they haven't necessarily chosen to work with us. Their employer chose to work with us. So you're talking to unengaged 401k participants, 403b participants, and you are wanting them to know what their options are in their account, getting them to the right place, and hoping to connect them to somebody that can give them some guidance and information on their accounts with us. You've got other roles, your investment solutions representative. That's going to be an entry level role on our planning and guidance side with our retail customers, and that's going to have both an inbound and outbound component. A lot of our planning and guidance roles will have both an inbound and outbound component. So it truly depends on the role that you're in.
Awesome. And Jen, just to kind of follow up with that, I'm getting a couple of questions about what about operational roles? What about risk analysis, fraud investigations? Can you talk a little bit about the landscape of our Jacksonville region and the types of roles that we typically see in Jacksonville?
Yeah, so it's going to be mostly we are going to have roles that are communicating directly with clients. We do have some operational roles. They are limited, and they are throughout the nation. We do have folks that sit in Jacksonville, but it is a limited role. We do have folks in compliance. We have our regional account delegates. They are going to be looking over the trades and transactions for all the teams, and making sure that they are accurate, auditing different transactions that our associates are placing. And that's largely compliance related. Our risk and fraud group, one of the positions that I held in Jacksonville that is no longer located in Jacksonville, it was moved nationally. I want to say it is more in Covington and Salt Lake in Texas, is a trade support role where you're checking over trades and transactions for accuracy, working disputes from customers, and then reaching out to them with your results. Also outreaching in times of market volatility or different market events. So those positions do exist, but largely are not in Jacksonville. We are seeing more and more positions come through that can be worked from any regional center. But as of this time, most of our Jacksonville roles are going to be customer facing, either in the planning and guidance role or in the through the client services customer service route.
Thank you. I've seen a couple questions from people that are outside of the Jacksonville area, one specific to Denver, liking what they hear. We do offer the same positions that we were showing on that slide. Denver has a similar landscape to Jacksonville. So if you are interested in the Denver location specifically, I would recommend that you go to fidelitycareers.com and look at that location, and you can apply directly to whichever one of those roles that you are interested in. The other question was around how do we start the interview process? That does follow up with, fidelitycareers.com. It would be applying directly to the role. We do have different recruiters that work on different roles. So to make sure that your application does end up in the right hands and is reviewed by the right people, best place to start would be fidelitycareers.com. Sort by your location. And then you will see all of the roles that we spoke about today posted out there for you to apply directly online. And then I'm just taking a look. Starting pay for customer relationship advocates. I can take that one as well. Being an unlicensed role, it is going to be a set base pay in Jacksonville. So there's no negotiation, no room to change off of that. Is $20.19 an hour. I do see a question here. Will we get the presentation after the seminar? I don't believe the presentation is going to be sent out, but it has been recorded. You may be able to review it. David, can you just confirm that it will be reviewable again after the fact?
Yes, we are recording this, and we will send a link out to everyone. Usually by the end of business today, they'll get an email with a link to watch it on demand. So.
Awesome, thank you. Another one, if you start in service and want to switch to sales after being licensed, will you need to start over an entry level?
I
Jen,
can
do you
take
want to take
that.
that? Sorry.
Yeah. So it truly depends on what you're going for and what skill sets you have and what your background is. Everybody that works at Fidelity has a development plan, and largely what that's based off of is mastering your current role and figuring out where you want to go next, figuring out what skill sets or attributes make you successful in the role that you want to go for. And you would work with your manager, your mentors, perhaps people in the department that you want to go to figure out or to really build your assets and attributes to be successful there. You don't necessarily have to start over at entry level. Again, it's really individual based on what you have in your past. People they go into service and want to switch to sales, or vice versa, all the time. So we say it's not a corporate ladder that you're climbing. It's more like a rock wall. Sometimes you go down to go up, sometimes you go over to go up. It's really flexible, and we just always just kind of take into account everybody's individual attributes to see where they're best fit.
Awesome, thank you. I have a question for Jennifer. It says, just curious, if the advisors grow their book of business and leave, can they take it with them? Is Fidelity a protocol firm?
So Fidelity is very different than a lot of firms in that it is not a book of business that you own or that you've established, if you will. These are all Fidelity clients, and Fidelity keeps their clients even if we have advisor turnover. But the benefit to that is when you come in, you aren't spending years cold calling and pounding the pavement to build a book of business. You're literally handed between 200 and 400 Fidelity clients that already qualify for a relationship for you to then foster and grow organically. So it is a completely different business model, and it is not, these are definitely Fidelity clients.
Awesome. Here's another question. Loving everything I've heard as well. One of the things that's important to me is giving back to the community where I live. How does Fidelity view volunteering in the community, especially if it's with a financial literacy nonprofit? India, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So this was one of the reasons that I came to Fidelity. I remember back in the day when I interviewed, my question was, what is Fidelity's involvement in the community? And it was able to be laid out plainly for me through our website. So Fidelity Cares is the piece of Fidelity that tends to our community service. And financial literacy is one of the big priorities for us within that group. So there are a lot of different programmings that are offered with regard to promoting financial literacy, not just among adults, but among children as well. One of my favorite events that we do here at Fidelity is Teach the Teachers, which is a program where we bring teachers to our site. We teach them financial literacy terminologies and terms and understanding for themselves, as well as partner with outside organizations to provide curriculum for them to be able to start implementing and sharing those financial concepts at their students' level, no matter what level they're at. So a big part of what I love doing here at Fidelity is being involved and being able to participate in community work. So there's a big presence there.
Awesome, thank you. Question around hours. Does Fidelity have 24-hour customer service? Andrea, you want to take that one?
Yeah, of course. So Fidelity does have 24-hour service. So we are available for all of our customers, but it's not probably the way you expect it, where you're in the office at any given time of the day. Our branches, specifically our call center, are open from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. or sorry, 7 to 11. So you can have a schedule anywhere beyond that. Since we do have call centers located in different time zones, that kind of covers all that 24 hours within the day. But if you do work here in Jacksonville, you're not going to be here till like 4 a.m. We promise you that. The latest you could stay is till 11 o'clock.
Awesome. Got one more around dress code. What is dress code for positions that are in the largest service center or the larger service centers? Andrea, do you want to take that one too?
Yeah, of course, of course. So when it comes to dress codes at the call center, you don't have to come in a suit. You don't have to come in a pencil skirt or anything of that nature, but you still want to look presentable. So you're more than welcome to wear jeans and a relatively nice shirt. You can still wear a jacket if it gets cold. You're not going to look, unprofessional to us just because it is all over the phone. No customers are going to be able to physically see you. If you have tattoos, you do not have to cover them up with any kind of jacket or anything of that nature. You can wear short sleeve shirts if you would like as well. Again, like I mentioned, everything is done over the phone. Customers can't physically see you. So we want your voice to be very professional naturally, but just kind of come in looking nice, but you don't have to look like you're coming in for a business meeting or anything like that.
Oops. And then Jennifer, do you want to touch on the Investor Center dress code since that is a little bit different?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are client facing even as if we're doing it through Zoom. So at least the shirts that our advisors are wearing right now. It's pretty much slacks and a button-down shirt for men. We don't require suits anymore. Although when I started with Fidelity, it was full-on suits. And then for women, business, I hate to say business casual, but I would say business attire, but not to the level of a full suit. So it is a client-facing role and we want to look professional.
All right, I want to jump in here. Looks like we have a couple minutes left. Marissa, if you want to take one more question and then we can kind of wrap things up to kind of keep it to an hour. Thank you.
Perfect. I have a couple questions here around returning to the office, kind of going back to that, type environment. So Jen, do you want to kind of touch on, I know that you talked about it earlier, but maybe some of them kind of missed what that reentry plan and how we're evaluating when it's safe to return to the office?
Sure. So just to kind of restate, so we are working on a 30-day by 30-day basis, looking 30 days out and making the determination as to when it will be safe and makes sense to return back to the office. It depends on what's happening nationally, what's happening regionally. We are very conservative in that space, wanting to make sure that we are not putting our employees or their families in any uncomfortable situations. So we do not have a re-entry date as of yet, but we are operating, like I said, on a 30-day by 30-day basis. What is happening in some of the regional centers is folks are starting to test out returning back to the office on a volunteer basis.
And I'll say it's similar for the investor centers. There are a number of investor centers across the country right now that have slowly started reopening for appointment only, but it's very different than pre-COVID as far as the number of people coming in at a time and socially distancing and how that's all being handled. As of right now, we do not have a date either for the Jacksonville locations.
Okay, very good. Thank you guys so much. Wonderful presentation, everybody. That was really good. We're getting a lot of questions still, and I know for time's sake, we only said we're going to take an hour of your time, but wanted to let everyone know we're going to be getting these questions over to Fidelity. They're going to be able to answer any questions that were not answered during the live event. But as I wrap things up here real quick, I do want to let everyone know that this has been recorded. We are also going to send very specific instructions on how to apply. But if you would like to get started, you can go online here to fidelitycareers.com and take a look at the open positions. And again, we're going to be following up with everybody as well with a link with instructions on how to apply also. So with that being said, I'd like to thank the audience members today for your time. Thank you for taking an hour out of your day. Thank you again, Fidelity, for a wonderful presentation. And we hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. Thanks so much. Bye.